here's a conflict, you see. There are actually, on both sides, Jews are expecting something from the Palestinians they will never get, and Palestinians are waiting to listen for something from the Jews, and they will never accept it. This is why the conflict is unsolvable right now. We expect them to say it's the end of conflict. They will never say it's the end of conflict, okay?
Why?
Because the right of return, okay? And so they will never, so if there will be a peace agreement, they will not let us hear these three words, you know, that we are waiting for them so much, the end of the conflict. No, the end of the conflict, the conflict will be ended only when refugees from Lebanon and Syria will resume to their houses in Jaffa and Haifa, okay? And what they expect from us is they expect from us to recognize this right of return, and we cannot accept it because it's a fraction of Israel, as everybody understands. So, tragic conflict.
And now
so the only solution, because I can't leave you without solution, okay, because you don't sleep at night. Right now, I believe that the only solution is a solution that will be enforced on Israel and Palestinians from the what we call the national community, which is United States, Europe, Japan, Chinese. Only for now, for the time being, I don't see any other solution.
But now there have been some declarations by President Obama, and quite conflicted, no?
Well, not at all, because you see, what he said, Obama, that all solution to the conflict will be based on the 67 borders. And it's absolutely clear, it's clear to everybody, that it's the only solution, okay? Now, when we talk about 67 borders, we don't mean that we shall return exactly to these borders. It's impossible, you know. So many neighbors in Jerusalem are, and Ma'ale Adumim, you know, this city in the eastern Jerusalem, and there are huge settlements. So in such a case, we will have to make, you know, territorial replacements. We shall give them territories within Israel, okay, that more or less equal to the territories that we shall take from them. So Obama didn't say anything radically, but our Prime Minister, unfortunately, well, it's a very problematic one. He's a very problematic one. He's defensive all the time. And he didn't understand one basic truth. And the one and only basic truth is that Israel will be considered a legitimate state, or will be sympathized by the world only if we initiate a political process. As long as we sit passively and not initiating any peace, you know, policy, then we became an illegitimate. And now there is a state. And now there is actually a new anti-Israeli and a new anti-Semitism in the world. Europe became anti-Semite. Well, it's very hard to distinguish between being anti-Israel and being anti-Semite. But they mix together. See, just to give you an example, I sent the book now to 2 publishing houses in England. From one, they told me that they will not translate, they will not publish any Israeli book as long as the occupation goes on. And on the other hand, they told me that the book is great and so on and so forth, but since I don't relate to the Palestinian problem, and it's a book about education, they can't publish it. So Israel become really unlegitimized country. And we cannot afford ourselves to be South Africa. It will be the destruction of Israel. And in September, they're going to declare about Palestinian state, you know, in the United Nations. And we are in trouble. We're in trouble because we haven't initiated anything, because our Prime Minister is a small politician.
It's too
and
small
we need Churchill in our, you know, circumstances. We need a Churchill. We don't need a small politician who cares only about his coalition in the Knesset, in the parliament.
And about education, what is the difference between, which you know about, between the education in Israel and education in the diaspora?
Well, it's different, you see, because education in diaspora, the aim of education in diaspora is to keep up your identity, your Jewish identity. You see, while in Israel, you know why Zionism is a great success? Just look at Israel. It's a great failure. It's the most unsecured place in the world. Okay, remember, we made Zionism unsecured. Listen, we are living, just beneath the atomic bomb of Ahmadinejad, of the Iranian. You see, where is it more secure to be a Jew, in Mexico or in Israel? Of course in Mexico. You are not free.
I don't agree.
Okay, but unfortunately I'm right in this case, okay?
You are the interviewer.
The most, yes.
Imagine in the
I'm the
US.
hero of this program.
Okay.
When you will be interviewed, you're expressive. Okay, but never mind. You see, Jews, the most unsecured place for Jews in the world is Israel. Though we have our Tzal, a great army, and we got atom bombs, okay, we got everything, but it's unsecured place because we are surrounded by 350 million Arabs who really united only in one thing, in their hatred to Israel. We got Arab inside Israel, and then we got non-Arabs, Islamic countries like Turkey and Iran. So from this point of view, Israel is a total failure. From the point of view of just society, we are total failure also, because we are not a just society. We are not a welfare, state. There is a huge gap, not like Mexico, okay, between poor and rich. So from every perspective, the Zionistic project is a total failure. But there is one perspective which is crucial, which from this point of view, Israel is a huge success. We don't have identity problem like you have here, okay? We are not thinking about like a normal person. We get up in the morning, we don't ask ourselves who we are. How can we keep our, special identity? And this is your problem in the diaspora, okay? So from this really point of view, Israel, I would even formulate it in a more paradoxical way. Zionism is a great victory because in Israel you don't have to be a Jew. You're just an Israeli. And you don't occupy your mind with the question of who am I? What kind of... Now here, your educational system is recruited only for this, project. How to keep our identity, not to be assimilated. We don't have this problem. That's why we can try all kind of new education and make all kind of experiments that you cannot afford yourself. So there is a huge difference. I think that, listen, I don't want to insult you, but I think this is why I put my hand here. No, I think, you see, my belief, this is why I'm Zionistic. I think Israel is a disaster from many perspectives. I think that we don't have these psychological complexities you have. You are neurotic. You know what I mean by neurotic? Listen, you are surrounded by no Jews. So it's put you in a daily psychological problem. On one hand, you are snobbish. By snobbish, you think you are better. Okay? You are richer, you are more enlightened, more educated, and you close in your ghetto. On the other hand, you are afraid of the people outside. I'm working with the Jewish community in Australia, okay? And I can see this complexity, this ambivalence in their attitude to the Gentiles around, okay? And I think that there is something unnatural in living in a country which is not yours. There is something which is more healthy to your psychiatry, to your personality, to live in your own state. So I think that, I'll put it in a very sharp way, that in Israel we're simply more healthy psychologically than you. You are neurotic.
Okay. And
but
now
you are secured. because I don't know if we have any future, because one day, you know, atomic bomb will, so it will be the end of the healthy Jews.
What are the latest innovation in education in Israel?
Well, I
If
think,
somebody knows, it's you.
what?
It's you.
No. Well, you see, first of all, education by its nature is a very trendy field. It's like fashion in dress. One day is skinny jeans, okay, the other season it will be, okay, the same as that. The trends happen outside schools. Outside schools are new slogans, new buzzwords, new ideas, okay? But schools themselves are not influenced, not affected a bit by this fashion. Schools continue to work as it was in the 19th century. Schools are a robust institution. They resist any change, okay? So, when you ask about new ideas, it's only in the discourse, okay? Not in schools. Schools don't care about us. Let them talk, these intellectuals like Dr. Harpaz, let them talk. You see, we don't care a bit about this. They will publish his ideas, book, will make some fun in conferences like this, but actually, okay? So, what is the trend right now in Israel? Right now, I think the trend is the digital trend, you know? I think that people in Israel believe that laptop, that a personal computer to each students and teachers and what we call smart blackboards and clickers and all kinds of, you know, digital programs will save schools and will jump us into the 21st century. I don't believe in it at all, by the way. Actually, what I think that we are going to face something very tricky. You know what the trick is? The trick is that schools, with all the new digital toys, very well equipped with laptop and smart boards, it will be an education for the poor people. Rich people's school, you won't see any computers there. Why? Because the education of the rich will be based on dialogue, meaning on the personal connections between teachers and students. So what you see in rich schools, in Israel, for instance, there is one private school, which is the richest school in Israel. It's a very small school, and it's the only school in Israel which is not supported by the government. It's paid like you here in Mexico. And you know what you see? There is not even one computer there. Because why? They say, well, each kid here have 5 computers at home. We don't need computer here. So their education is based on dialogue, on personal education. Groups, you know, classrooms are very small, no more than 10 students. Teachers are very well educated. None of them come from the regular, you know, teacher training. There are doctors, there are writers, there are sculptors, there are artists, and so on and so forth. And they sit so I think that really I don't tend, like so many people in Israel, to give so much hope to the digital toys. Though I think it's right, if we shall work smartly with computers, we can make a change. But what is the problem? The problem is that we put schools into a traditional school. We put computers into a traditional school. We keep all the frontal, traditional, authoritative teaching, but with tools. In such a case, it makes situation even worse, okay? Because computer have this characteristic. It makes things or worse or better.